I know what you're thinking right now. You're wishing, just wanting so badly that Michelle Obama would lecture you on how difficult life is, even though her net worth is $75 million. Welcome to Doug In Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. And speaking of very unhappy and unpatriotic, here's Michelle Obama.
Women, we have so many landmines and barriers and don'ts and limitations. I mean, Craig, you're the guy at the table, but I think it's important for all guys listening, especially men raising daughters, to realize that difference.
Ooh, it's different, especially for men. I have 2 daughters. They're awesome. They make me so happy, especially for men. You know, the last person that I want to hear about lecturing men about daughters, Michelle Obama, you're not even a man. You don't know what it's like to be a man having daughters. So on that very unhappy note, we're going to continue with this Michelle Obama. This whole video is about Democrats having the wrong strategy to convince anyone of everything. So we're going to start. Before we show the rest of this clip, I thought we'll replay the Michelle Obama theme song that I wrote with AI.
Oh, me, Michelle, why you so bitter? Your lectures don't shine. It's glue covered in glitter. It's been reduced to choice. You moan and you sigh. We're exhausted by you and your stick has run dry. Stop your whining, stop your fuss. MAGA's had enough of your lecturing us.
Yes, we've had enough of her lecturing. By the way, I will play that entire song at the end of this episode. If you make it all the way to the end, then you get a little piece of candy. But I just figured that's just the intro for this clip. Here's Michelle lecturing us more. Ooh. With Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Elaine from Seinfeld, who's worth about $250 million.
You know, and that thing that inadvertently, as you were loving and raising these beautiful girls, there are so many rules that make us small.
Baked in without our knowing it, you know?
Yeah.
Baked in without their knowing it, rules that make women small. Does Michelle Obama look like a shrinking violet, someone who's been reduced? Why would you ever feel that? You were the first lady. You're the talk of the town in Hollywood. You go to some fancy cafe in San Francisco, they will literally fall on the ground and start worshiping you. How in the world can you still feel small? And I think this is a real difference between, I think there's a lot of feminism on the left among Democrats, and feminism makes women, pumps up their victimhood and makes them angry. You cannot be happy as a victim, okay? I'm a Christian. I don't sit there and think all day, oh, I'm so oppressed and life is so unfair. That's how you make a very unhappy Christian. And that is nowhere in the Bible where a Christian is to sit there and talk about his own anger and suffering and unfairness all day. It's nowhere in the Bible. I've looked, I've read the thing, okay? Now compare that to MAGA women. We celebrate femininity, what it means to be a woman. We celebrate girls. We celebrate our daughters, our wives. We celebrate our wives. Our wives are just awesome. The beloved Miss TenNapel is the best person I've ever met in my life. It does not mean that she wears the pants in the house and she's interchangeable with me, which is what feminism says. Men and women are just slot them in. Nothing special about either one. And then finally, we love our mothers, MAGA mothers. You know, who doesn't just hold their mother up as, oh, it doesn't mean they're perfect. Doesn't mean they never sin. Their lives are full of sin. They're full of mistakes. But we honor our fathers and mothers. It's about honoring a position and not just looking at checking a bunch of boxes of, Mom, did you do enough good works before I approve of you in life? You know what I mean? It's about positions. My wife, she holds this authority in the house. She's nearly a totalitarian dictator in the house, by the way. That's what G.K. Chesterton said about the power of women. It's why he didn't want them to have the vote. He goes, why would you give up your dictatorial relationship with your household and essentially turn it over to the government? I know it's a strange way of thinking, but it really is about, and then of course our daughters are sacred. You know, don't cross my daughter. It's going to be ugly for you if you do. Here's the rest of that miserable quote. I'm just going to finish it up here.
And I wish I could, I remember people saying, oh, well, she's a female doctor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
as opposed to just, she's a doctor.
Well, there is something different about a female doctor and just a doctor. Maybe also, by the way, maybe they're paying you a compliment, Julia, to say, you know what? She's not just a doctor. She's a female doctor. You know, if I say, you know, wow, you've accomplished so much. You're a female Black doctor in a wheelchair. I think it's kind of awesome that you got there. And then, of course, male doctors, or white doctor or whatever, you don't go around going, he's my white doctor. It's not an accomplishment. That's the one thing where many men and many non-minority men are freed and liberated from any of those kinds of accomplishments associated with sex, with financial class, how handicapped are you, you know, what's your orientation and all that. No one ever looks at me and go, he's a pretty good white male animator. They go, he's a good animator. They look straight to my merit. They look straight to my work. I'm happier that way. Now we're talking about Democrat bad strategy. Oh, it's all the rage now to talk about Biden's doctor being corrupt, right? Biden's doctor that basically was part of the cover-up of his impairment, which allowed Biden to do the auto pen for so long. Well, this is the previous White House doctor, okay? In case you think this is politicized and this guy's MAGA, he's not. Okay. He was Trump's doctor. He was also Obama's doctor. And this is what happens when you do not politicize being a doctor. He leaves his comment on the previous doctor. And this sounds like a real straight shooter who's just doing his job, not a Democrat doctor, not a Republican doctor, a doctor.
Hey everybody, Dr. Ronnie Jackson here from Amarillo, Texas, just chiming in on the news of the day. As many of you know, I was a former physician to the president for President Trump and President Obama. I was a White House physician during 3 administrations, Bush, Obama, and Trump. And I've been asked by a lot of people today, what's going on with Dr. Kevin O'Connor? As you know, Dr. Kevin O'Connor was a former physician to the president for President Joe Biden, and he was subpoenaed to speak before Congress today and give his testimony on his role in the cover-up of President Joe Biden's cognitive decline during his presidency and the potential illegal use of the auto pen. Unfortunately, Dr. O'Connor started and continued his testimony by pleading the Fifth. Very unusual. You have to ask yourself, why would you plead the Fifth if you weren't personally doing something that was illegal or unethical? That's a question that remains. And I think the answer to that question is probably because he was. We won't know exactly yet, but we will find out. He started off by claiming that he had presidential privilege, which President Trump relieved him of and waived that. He had that was not a concern at all at this point. He also said that there's doctor-patient privilege that was looked at by the committee, and we know that HIPAA and the American Medical Association have looked at this issue and said that you can be legally compelled to discuss conversations between a patient and a doctor under the right legal circumstances. This definitely fell into that category. He was being subpoenaed under oath to give testimony before the United States Congress.
Okay, now this guy's a straight shooter. I'm going to let him continue his statement. But first, as an artist, I'm sorry. The design of this selfie is very well done. This is how I think. This is how an artist thinks. There's this thing called the rule of thirds in photography and in composition. And this is a message to all of you doing selfies out there. He's doing it right. When you do a selfie, the rule of thirds means that you cut the top at about 1/3 and it should be right around your eye line for interest, and the lower third, bottom of his chin, that puts him within that middle third, okay, going up and down. You break the camera up into thirds, and you put your major content of interest at that third mark. And then you cut the same thing vertically, about 1/3 from the left, right? If you look at it right there, he has placed his vertical head right there on that third line. And if you look at the other third, right to the right, you'll see the sun. So if you break that picture up, using rule of thirds. This is a very well composed piece for being a doctor, dude. Your artistry is pretty awesome. Interesting, appealing composition. That's all I'm saying. I can't turn it off, guys.
He did not. I just want to let everybody know this is not over yet. We have lots of whistleblowers out there. We have lots of other people that are in line for testimony. Some are being compelled to testify, and some are doing it voluntarily, but they're all going to come out. Whistleblowers are going to come out. We will put the pieces of this puzzle together. I do not think that this is the last time that you will see Dr. Kevin O'Connor before Congress, and next time I'm assuming that he will be compelled to tell us the truth and to be honest with the American people and let us know what happened. We cannot have a situation where we have unelected officials in the West Wing that are making presidential decisions without the president's knowledge and being covered up by key people around him, such as the physician to the president, the first lady, and other people that are close to the president.
But especially the physician. I think this guy has authority on it. We're going to keep going on the what not to do as a Democrat. Okay, next up, we have Mike Davis talking about Ketanji Brown Jackson on the Supreme Court. And this is about, remember, Democrats blowing it and using the wrong argument. Here's Mike Davis on her.
Good to see you. So when Justice Jackson, when she was first nominated, there was a lot of criticism that she lacked enough judicial experience, particularly compared to some of her colleagues. She even admitted that she had a limited or lack of experience interpreting constitutional texts under her testimony during her confirmation hearing. So is that what we're seeing here? Just a lack of experience and a lack of constitutional knowledge?
Well, I think she has a lack of good judgment. She was a district court judge for many years on the D.C. District Court. President Biden elevated her to the D.C. District or D.C. Court of Appeals just for a minute before he nominated her to the Supreme Court. But as I said back then, if you are 6 Republican seats and 3 Democrat seats, you would want to put someone in that Democrat seat who's going to build bridges and maybe pick off one of the justices like Barrett or Kavanaugh or the Chief Justice.
Okay, that's an important strategy. I don't know if you guys quite caught that, but he's saying strategically, instead of picking a DEI hire radical like Ketanji Brown Jackson, this actually has nothing to do with her sex or her gender, because Biden could have picked a qualified Black female judge. The idea that he had to pick this lady is beside the point. He clearly did not go for her merit, and she's a radical. And so what strategy is Mike Davis saying that would have helped the Democrat case? If they found a bridge builder, like someone, she could still be a Democrat, but work more at picking off a Justice Roberts or a Gorsuch or a Kavanaugh or a Amy Coney Barrett. And instead, they pick such a radical that she's even distancing herself from the 2 other liberals of Sotomayor and Kagan. I want to build bridges to Democrats I can pick off and bring over to the side of pro-America and against Marxism and against liberalism. That's my agenda. I'm upfront with it, guys. You have my whole plan. And so I want to appeal to them instead of scare them off. Now, I might still scare them off, but you'll admit that it's at least a good strategy. Who embodies that strategy? Here's a Democrat. This is Fetterman, who, I disagree with him on a lot of stuff, but here he is agreeing. He could pick off some Republicans with this kind of talk, or maybe we'll pick him off as a Democrat because he's defending ICE agents and the Democrats are standing against these government workers.
Absolutely unacceptable, terrible, awful. ICE agents are just doing their job, and I fully support that. And for me, and people in my party might, want to abolish it or treat them as criminals or anything that's inappropriate and outrageous. ICE performs an important job for.
Okay, that's just simple. I know he has a difficult time talking and apparently thinking, but he's got the argument right. I think John Fetterman really is a bridge between Democrats and Republicans because he doesn't just go down the party line talking points. I can disagree with him. I would never vote for him, but I'm telling you, I'm giving him respect for the argument. It is a correct way to think. Now we're going to go to the wrong way to think. Again, those Democrat Secret Service agents that were supposed to protect Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, they didn't do their job. And that's another bad Democrat. Again, these were mostly Democrats. They didn't do their job, and now they got canned.
Fox News alert, we're learning tonight 6 Secret Service agents that were connected to Trump's Butler assassination attempt have been suspended. This comes just days shy of the shooting's anniversary. The identities of the agents suspended are unknown, but sources say their roles range from supervisory positions to line-level agents. We'll continue to monitor this story and bring you any updates as they come.
Yeah, they were Democrats, so we don't know their names, but you have one job as an agent, and they didn't do their job. So somewhere there was a failure over there. Here's how ABC is reporting that exact failure. 6 agents have been issued suspensions by the U.S. Secret Service for failures connected to last year's attempted assassination of then presidential candidate Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. An official told ABC News, read more here. Here's Sean Davis. I always love his commentary. He's a good buddy of mine. Imagine only getting a suspension after your incompetence and corruption resulted in your protectee nearly having his head blown off on live television. The culture of that entire agency is rotten to the core, and the fact that we are only seeing a handful of suspensions nearly a year later is a freaking abomination. I actually agree with this. I think it's time, just to restore the honor of those Secret Service agents, I think you need to gut them and go, look, you guys got to step down. If it was my job to protect the president, I had one job and I didn't do it, I'd go, look, guys, I'm fired, I'm giving up. And so this is about the wrong way that Democrats have been doing their job. And now, as promised, here's the Michelle Obama song that I wrote with AI. Thanks for watching, guys. You're making my birthday extra special today.
She steps to the mic with a skull and a glare, saying men don't get women, they just don't care. So many men have no idea what women go through, she cries, but we're tired of her lectures, her rolling eyes. She's preaching about choice like it's all we should know, but her bitter old rants steal the whole dang show. Clueless, says men missing the mark. We haven't been researched, she shouts in the dark. But who's she to judge with her mansion and fame? Always pointing a finger, always shifting a blame. Overrated, entitled, she's the queen of complaint. Thinks she's speaking for all, but I say she ain't. Oh, mean Michelle, why you so bitter? Your lectures don't shine, it's glue covered in glitter. It's been reduced to choice, you moan and you sigh. Exhausted by you and your stick has run dry. Stop your whining, stop your fuss. MAGA's had enough of your lecturing us. She says our health's a machine, but her logic's a mess. The least of what it does is produce life, she confess. Sounds like she's spinning a tale to confuse, while she's sipping white wine in her designer shoes. Entitled and grumpy, she's out of touch. Thinks she's still the first lady, we gave her a flush. Oh, mean Michelle, why you so bitter? Your lectures don't shine, it's glue covered in glitter. It's been reduced to choice, you moan and you sigh. We're exhausted by you and your stick has run dry. Stop your whining, stop your fuss. MAGA's had enough of your lecturing us. No discussion, no connection, you claim with a sneer. But your words divide us, they don't bring us near. You point at the men, call them blind as can be, but your mean streak's the problem everyone sees. We're proud of our values, our faith and our fight. So take your complaints, put them where it's not light. Oh, mean Michelle, pack up your frown. Your overrated act ain't the talk of the town. It's about our life, you shout, but we're done. MAGA's moving forward, we're having real fun. So wave bye-bye from your elite ivory tower. We're singing this song with American God.
I'm Doug In Exile.